And my topic today is the courage to keep loving. It takes courage to keep loving. I often say that the problem with us in our spiritual path isn't so much what we know or how much we know, but our biggest challenge is consistency. We kind of stop and start, or we don't go quite deep enough. And it is the persistence, it's the hanging in there. And it takes courage to keep loving. Interestingly enough, you know I love words, linguistically speaking, the root of the word courage is heart. We tend to think of courage as something else, like power or strength or whatnot, but the actual root of the word courage is heart. I had an opportunity, I guess it was Wednesday before last now, to do a talk in San Francisco, at San Francisco City Hall. Beautiful, beautiful event in the rotunda on the steps. It was just really gorgeous. Actually, that's on Facebook. The clip of that little 5 or 7 minutes is on Facebook, thanks to Leah, who filmed it live there. And I was asked to speak about hope. About hope. And that morning flying in from Los Angeles, it occurred to me that the letters with it, no, it didn't occur to me, Spirit told me. Don't even let me front like that. Because I was worried. I didn't know what I was going to do. And I was pray on it. And Spirit said, say this. Okay, so I was informed to say this, that within the letters of hope was all the answer. And he said the first part was keep your heart open. At the H and the O stood for keep your heart open. The P was for see possibilities. And the E was engagement, stay engaged. And I've really been thinking about that, keeping your heart open, seeing possibilities, which is the equivalent of keeping your mind open, keeping your heart open, seeing possibilities, and staying engaged, that is the root of hope. That's what hope is about right there. Those 3 little components. That's how you get hope, and that's how you keep hope. You don't have any hope, keep your heart open, see some new possibilities, and stay engaged. And you'll wind up with some hope. And if you have some hope and you want to keep the hope, keep your heart open, see some possibilities, and stay engaged. That's the essence of it, right there. Keep your heart open. Now, we have all these different roots in our society. And sometimes we're like the two-headed horse here. Particularly around our theological roots, so much of this nation is from a Judeo-Christian tradition, but we also have this Roman-Greek influence as well, and the two don't always gel. Okay? The Judeo part came from a very mystical tradition about dreams and prophecy and visions and miracles and this whole other kind of way of being from its roots. But you had Christianity, for reasons I'm not going to go into right now, got started by the Greeks. And then the Romans took it over, made it the religion of the whole Roman Empire. And the Greeks are known as the fathers of Western thought. So they're all about logic and reason and thinking. It guts mysticism out So even our English language is this hodgepodge. You hear me say that all the time. It's a mutt language. So we have Latin roots, we have Greek roots, we have French roots, German roots, and sometimes the same words, like the prefix homo means same in one, it means something else in the other. It's like it's all mixed up. Okay? It's all mixed up. So in Scripture, when it uses the word heart, it encompasses the totality of being. This notion of splitting the head from the heart, that's a Greek thing. That's a Western logic thing. But you get out of Western logic, nobody else splits it. Nobody else splits it. The Buddhists don't split it. The Hindus don't split it. The Africans don't split it. We're the only ones who are splitting it, acting as though the mind and the heart are somehow independent. And not only is that not true, but right here in our backyard, we have the group Heart Math that does extraordinary work, that are actually proving physically that the brain comes later, that the first responder is actually our heart. And not only is it the first responder, but all of our cells are, quote unquote, thinking as well. It's just extraordinary. So when I say the courage to keep loving, I am not just talking about your emotional feeling. I am talking about the totality of you that is even able to override your feelings sometimes, or the totality of you that's able to override your thinking sometimes. Your little ego self gets afraid of loving. Loving's a very scary thing. Because loving means being vulnerable. Loving means risking. I'm talking about the agapeo love, the oneness love, the direction of the will love. It means putting down the sword. It means letting go of the fight. It means not standing on your self-righteousness anymore. It lets go of the contrast, the comparison, the competition. That love will take you into places you don't want to go. It will. Do I have a witness? But here's the thing. After the gnawing and gnashing of teeth, after you already go, after you've been bludgeoned and wounded and all the rest of that, you wouldn't trade it for the world. I don't know anybody, and I have been a spiritual counselor for 30 years. I've never heard anybody say that they would choose to go back to being the person that they were before they were stretched. You might not have enjoyed the stretching. All right? Personally, I don't know why there are billions of people on the planet given what childbirth is like. I'm talking that kind of stretching. I'm serious. It's that kind of stretching. Where there's a big old something called your spirituality trying to come through this little bitty narrow tube. I mean, there's this big old thing, your spirituality, trying to come through this little bitty tube called your personality. It is. And some of us got to have a C-section. Spirit's like, I can't even make it through. Uncle, we just got to cut you open and get me out of here. But it's like that. And here's the mistake that most of us make, is we think that the loving is about the other people. That's the mistake that we make. Are you worthy? Should I do this? What's going to happen here? What are the guarantees? Am I colluding? Am I stepping back on my word? Are you going to think it's okay, whatever it is, if I keep loving you? We've got all these stories, blah, 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 blah. But what we forget is that we are hurt by the love we don't give. It's not even about you. Trust me. I don't keep my heart open for you. Okay? Because you may or may not receive it. Listen to what I'm saying. I don't keep my heart open just simply to manipulate you or to try to keep you or to stay in relationship with you. You may or may not want to stay in relationship with me. I can forgive you and you may not forgive me. And how many of us won't take those extra steps because we're afraid we won't be met? Why should I let that down? They're not going to let it down. You know, why should I forgive? Why should I keep loving? They're going to walk out anyway. Why am I going to do that? You're going to do it for you. That's why you're going to do it. You're going to do it for you, for the person that you're going to become, to let your spirituality out, to let your power out. The only way you can not love is to shut down. And here's the thing. You can't shut down in the particular. We can't do anything in the particular. I can't just close my heart to you and then have my heart open for everything else. It's just physics. You can't contain energy. You can't take a vibratory field and keep it in a box. It just doesn't work that way. Like, I'm speaking now. I can't control where that goes. It's just, it's just out there. I can't speak and say, you know what? I want to make sure that only she hears this. I'm going to think this thought, and I want to make sure that it only stays in my head. It's not like that. Everything's electromagnetic. It's just out there. It's just out there. And everybody's feeling everybody else's stuff. We are dying over secondhand thoughts. Your energy is communicable. Listen to what I'm saying. Your thoughts, your feelings, they are communicable. We are all interchanging with each other's energy fields all of the time. It's not even contained within us. They refer to it as epidermics now. You know, showing that your healing isn't just in your DNA. It's not just in your chromosomes. There's a whole field around us. And what's happening within that field is determining whether we're being healed or not. There is an exchange, there is an energy exchange that happens. And I know you know what I am talking about. You can walk into a room and feel, oh, I just walked into something going on up in here. You can think it's staying to yourself, but if you're really pissed and you're really angry, you can pollute the whole room. You can pollute the whole house staying in your room. Because everything is energy, yes? We know this when it comes to the negative, but somehow we forget that the same principles work on the positive. We believe it so much in the negative. I can tell you right now, you could have 100 people in the room, and there could be one sour person. The whole thing. Yes? We know that. But if I were to tell you, you could have 100 people in the room, and one upbeat, energetic, spiritually grounded, really consecrated person could step in the room and boom, 100 people up. See? Most of us don't believe that. Somehow we believe in the power of the negative more than we believe in the power of the positive. Well, you got real quiet. Let's let that sit for a moment. Like we believe in the power of the negative more than we believe in the power of the positive. So just imagine if you believed in the positive as much as you believed in the negative. Think about all that fear that you have about who you're going to see over the holidays, or what's going to happen, or who you're not going to see, or this thing or that thing. All of that energy, the visualization, the conversations you think you're going to have, all the preparation, the armor that you're going to bring, your escape hatch. Call them so, hey, well, text me right about 5:15. So, if it's not going well, I got to root out of here. Imagine if you did the opposite. Imagine if you just visualize all the love, all the power, all the engagement. What a wonderful time that you might have. The new something that you might learn about somebody. The place of compassion just by listening, just by being present, just by really seeing somebody. Imagine if you walked in the room not with your armor, but with your light. Imagine if you walked in the room with your joy. If you showed up at the company, the family, the neighborhood, the spiritual community, like whatever those environments are that you're going to go to, imagine that if you showed up and saying, hey, life is good, baby. It is good. And I'm going to sprinkle some good dust up in here. I'm going to bring this whole vibration up. Pump up the volume up in here. Life is in session. There's a party going on. And just the fact that we're sad enough is enough reason to pump up the volume. At this event that I mentioned that I was at in San Francisco, it was put on by the Rainbow World Fund, which is an organization that does international relief work on behalf of the LGBT community. They had this tree there, this Christmas tree. I don't know how tall this tree was. It was like stories tall at the top of the steps of the rotunda. It looked like snow on it, but it really wasn't snow. It was origami cranes. Prayers were in each thing folded up, and it's on Facebook, and not just ours, but you know, they have it there and on YouTube where you can watch the whole process. And it's not too late. It's going there where you can add your prayers and they'll make a crane and whatnot for you. These are prayers from all over the world that are up there. And it's just so extraordinary. And part of this event was honoring the survivors of the Pulse Club massacre that happened in Orlando in June. And oh my God, to see people there who were shot, to see people there who actually survived, or to see the parents of people who didn't survive. And what I was so struck by was their love. And they were exemplifying everything that I had just said about hope. It was like a baton pass. Keep your heart open. See possibility. Stay engaged. There was one woman in particular, she told the story. This was Latin night at Pulse Club that day. And all of these people who were speaking were Puerto Ricans, from Puerto Rico, Puerto Ricans. And this one woman, she was telling the graphic story, like literally blow by blow what was happening. And I'll spare you all of that. But to hear her say that after, and she showed her baby, half her finger had been blown off by the first shot. And she was laying there playing like she was dead, like people were telling her to do. And then she gets shot 9 times in the back. And here this young woman in stilettos climbing the steps of the rotunda in City Hall. We're just talking last June. I'm not talking about like years ago. I'm talking about 6 months ago. Oh my God. And I remember writing something. Facebook. They're pushing me. And I was writing the response to this. And I've been an activist a long time. And there was some irony in this. Some irony that not only was this pride celebration, but that it was in a club. And this kind of rallying. And it was the first time that I'd ever seen the nation mourn over LGBT people. And the fact that that's where what they were in that club wasn't bothering people. And really clear from the survivors that were there, many of them weren't. It was just the best place to dance in town. And they were just having a blast, but no thing. Parents not being in judgment that their kids were there, you know, adult kids, but, you know, having a blast. And what I wrote, and I thought it's strange, and I wonder if it was going to be misunderstood, but I said, our response to this is we're going to keep dancing. And we're going to keep dancing. And throughout the rest of this whole Pride Month, we are going to dance in their honor. And sure enough, there was an art piece that had been done. That was at the steps. And at the bottom, somebody had taken photos, like headshots of everybody who was wounded and had died. And then there were these clouds. And in the clouds was written, "Broken is my heart, but it will beat again because you are its rhythm." That's what it said. And the guy who created that was there and was explaining it when he went to dedicate it. The day before it was dedicated, he got a call from his brother, and sure enough, the owner of the Pulse Club had been a classmate of theirs. And she hopped on a plane and joined him for the dedication. Those people displayed such courage. There wasn't, am I telling the truth? There wasn't a bit of bitterness about being shot up. There was no revenge. There wasn't any of that. And they displayed courage like nothing I have ever seen. And they get the victory. This is what I'm saying. Because of their capacity to keep loving, because of their courage, they get the victory. Life didn't stop. Life didn't stop. See, when, like King said, King Jr., when you begin to hate, you become as low as that which you're hating. He said, there's nothing any man can do to make me stoop so low as to hate. When you hate, there's that old saying, that's like drinking a gallon of gasoline and praying the other person's going to die. I'm seeing the Indiana Jones pictures now. The classic hero's journey, where it looks like an abyss, but you have to step out. And when you step, whoom, all of a sudden you find there's a stone underneath you. That's what the courage to love is like. Where you're stepping out, it feels like on an abyss, but there's stones that are up underneath you. I'm getting an image of how it used to feel being on a tightrope in spirituality. And the only reason why I would get out there is because it felt like there was some kind of safety net underneath me, only to do bait and switch, to get out there on the tightrope and see there's no net. And then eventually Spirit saying, and there's no rope, because I want you to fly. No net, no little wobbly this. Fly on the wings that I have given you. You're the only one that can clip your wings. You've been given wings. And as I was just teaching my ministerial students at Agape, and I'm going to close with this because I think it's so perfect for this. One of my favorite passages in the scripture is from the second book of Timothy. There's a conversation that's happening here where Paul is talking to Timothy, basically passing the baton to him and saying, I know who you are. Don't hide out. I know you got it. Your mama had it. I know your mama, your grandmama had it. I know you got it in you. It says it's time to stir up the gifts. That's what the King James Version, but it's really fan the flames. Fan the flames of the fire that's in you. Then he says this. This is the way the King James Version says it. It says, for God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power of love and a sound mind. A more literal translation would be timidity or cowardice. The spirit of it. See, the spirit is like the essence of it, and saying that God has not made our essence to lack courage. That our spirit is not one of cowardice and timidity. That fear is not the core of our essence. That's not what we have been given. Because we have been given power. This is a very specific power. This is not power over people or whatnot, but it is the Greek dunamis, which is the pure capacity to do. It just speaks of the pure capacity to take action. It says we have been given the spirit of that, the essence of that, of power, of love. This is that agapeo love that I'm talking about. So we don't even have to chase after it. The direction of the will, the choice to keep loving and staying in the oneness, it's who we are. It's not outside of us. It is the essence that we have been created with. We have not been created with fear, timidity, cowardice. We have been created with the power to do, with oneness as our very essence. The King James Version says, and sound mind, but it's literally self-discipline. The root of discipline is discipleship. It's not just the follower, but it is the consistent follower. See? You develop the discipline through the consistency. And once you develop the discipline, you become the disciple of it. You can become a disciple of love through the discipline of love. The consistency. This consistency, I said, is our problem in the beginning. It's our essence. If we just accept it and just believe it, we have not been given the spirit of cowardice, of fear and timidity. That's not fundamentally who you are. Our essence is pure power, pure capacity to be, pure oneness with everybody and everything, and the discipline to use the power in the service of that oneness. That's how we are created. So this courage that I am talking about, it's not something outside of you. It's just wake up and remember who you are. That's all. Awaken from the spiritual amnesia and remember who you are. Breathe. Let us pray.